All right, thank you for listening to another episode of Remake Rewind, the podcast where we decide if remakes or reboots should have happened. I'm Mike, as always. With me, I've got my buddy Alex. How you doing, man?
Hey now.
You're an all-star. Get your game on. Go play.
Delete that.
We're back. We're ready to talk about another movie that's not quite a remake or a reboot, but it's just something we really wanted to watch and talk about.
It's a requel, right?
It is and it isn't. They're saying that this movie is a prequel to the original, but there's nothing really that ties them together.
It's a reprequel.
Reprequel. Prerequel.
Right, because if you just say it's a prequel, that's it.
Yeah. So anyway, to stop beating around the bush, we're going to be talking about Predator and Prey.
Yeah.
Which it doesn't technically count. Like, they're saying that this is a prequel, but I don't think that they have to keep it that way, because when you think about it, the Alien and Predator franchises, the timeline doesn't make any sense anymore, especially when you throw in the Alien v Predator movies, and then everybody was just like, yeah, fuck those movies, and they threw those out of the timelines. But even still, when you look at like Predator 2, it has a xenomorph skull, but that still doesn't work with the Aliens timeline, so who knows?
Who knows?
I feel like these movies are like the Terminator. They don't really count unless you just count the one you're watching and just say, time travel, weird shit, space travel, none of it matters.
Yeah, and what you're watching determines what counts or not, right?
Correct.
Terminator and Halloween are like that too. They're like, oh yeah, it's just the first couple movies.
Yeah, exactly. So, I know you've seen Predator before.
Oh yeah.
I think that goes without saying. When was the last time you watched it, if you had to guess? Before, not excluding last night, obviously.
Between 5 and 10 years ago, probably.
Okay. I think I've watched it probably twice in the last 10 years, the
Nice.
Predator. I know I watched it with my buddy Dustin, who used to host the show, and I know I've watched it once since I've been in Los Angeles, and I've been here for 6.5 years, so at least twice in the last 10 years. But, yeah, how should we do this? Should we talk about Prey first or Predator first? Because Predator's technically the original, but if you're going to say it's a prequel, Prey's technically before it, but they don't tie into each other at all. It's not like any of the characters are Dutch's long-lost great-grandfather or anything like that, so it doesn't really matter.
Predator came out first, and, it's been talked about for the 30 years, so how about that?
All right, so talk about Predator first, get it out of the way?
Yeah.
Cool. Do you want to summarize it or do you want me to summarize it, bud?
You can summarize it.
Oh, okay. So Predator, classic movie from 1987. You got Dutch, who, is he part of the military? Is he not part of the military? Is he a Marine? They call him Major, but he seems to get to pick and choose what missions he goes on. But he has a little meeting with his good buddy Dylan, who works for the CIA, and he's like, hey, man, I need you to go after this like diplomat who got stuck in the jungle, and you're the best that there is. And they're like, you son of a bitch. And they shake each other's hands, and it's amazing. And they get to
It's going to take you 20 minutes to do this.
No, I'm almost done. They get to the jungles, actually Puerto Vallarta, and they realize quickly things are not what they seem. They actually ambush a guerrilla base and then find out that the CIA lied to him, of course. And then as they're trying to make it to their extraction point, they get hunted by an invisible alien who just fucks them up.
Very good.
Don't you doubt my summarizing skills, man.
I think you left in some details that didn't need to be there.
Nah, it was really important to know that there's betrayal.
And that somebody's a son of a bitch.
Well, I mean, that's one of the most famous things from the movie. Dylan, you son of a bitch.
The CIA got you pushing papers.
That gif of the handshake, and you just see their fucking arms crazy ripped. I've probably sent that gif to people 1,000 times.
I love that Carl Weathers was in Arrested Development, and he was just like a dude.
I love that gif. There's a version of it from Stranger Things. I think it's season 2 or 3. I don't remember which season. But Mike and Lucas get in a fight, and then at the end of the season, they get back together, and somebody superimposed them shaking hands, and then they locked in this image, and it makes me laugh every time I see it.
That's awesome.
Let's get into this, though. I don't think we're going to say anything that hasn't been said before in this movie, but maybe we will.
Maybe we will.
What do you got to say about
There's
it?
only one way to find out. Well, this is directed by John McTiernan, which I think is worth noting. And in a 4-year period, this is 88, right? 87. 87. So in a 4-year period, he directed this, Die Hard, and Hunt for Red October, which I think is a pretty nice streak.
And then he also did Last Action Hero just like a year or two after that one.
Last Action Hero was 93, and I think there was something
93?
else in between that.
Well, I actually maybe we should just bring this up at the beginning and alienate some people who don't want to hear the social justice warrior shit. We'll just get rid of them at the beginning of the podcast. But obviously, we're going to get into Prey later, and that's a female lead and the one who ultimately goes after the predator. What people don't realize about this movie and Die Hard and Last Action Hero and even Hunt for Red October, John McTiernan kind of does satire and kind of tries to break down the mold of the action hero. And a lot of people don't get that. Like, over the last couple months, seeing a lot of comments about Prey, all these people are like, there's no way a woman can do this. And, Arnold and his ragtag crew of fucking muscle men couldn't defeat the Predator. How can she do it? And like, I don't think that they understand what Predator was about. I don't think they understand what Die Hard was. I don't think they understand what Hunt for Red October was. It's not about masculinity. It's about that masculinity isn't the answer to everything. And just because you're fucking yoked doesn't mean that you're going to solve all your problems.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Paul Verhoeven level misunderstanding, right?
Absolutely.
His core audience is the butt of the joke,
and they don't get it.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty silly. But God, this movie, it's pretty incredible for like the budget that it has and the way they do the special effects. Like the Predator vision isn't great. Like, I don't really see how that's an advantage in this movie. The Predator vision gets better in subsequent sequels when CGI and all that stuff is better. But in this movie, I actually don't see the infrared heat vision as a benefit to the Predator.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a handicap. Like, he cannot see a whole lot when he's looking through the thermal.
Like, when he grabs the scorpion, like, there's a point where you see its hand in like a first-person view. You see him like reach onto a table, and you're like, what the fuck is he even picking up? And it's not until his hand's like 5 inches from his face you can kind of see the outline of a scorpion.
Yeah, and then later in the movie, he takes his mask off, or he gets his mask ripped off, and then his vision is just like red, and it's like even worse.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I've always understood that like he sees infrared, and it probably is very advantageous in his home planet, but he needs the visor to work in other planets to be semi-functional.
Right.
That's the way I've always thought about it. But I love how I actually still to this day think that the cloaking and visibility effect on this movie is actually one of the better ways of doing it, because you're a filmmaker. I wonder how do you think they did it without CGI?
I was wondering about that.
Ooh, I know how they did it.
Yeah, no, I was curious. I was trying to figure it out while I was watching it.
So what they did is they had the cost. They had them in like a red chroma key, and so they shot it once and with the red chroma key kind of thing, and then they shot it again with a slightly wider angle lens.
Yeah, it's called a plate.
So that way it would actually warp the. So they would chroma key the Predator out.
Yeah,
and then they would overlay the images so you get a slight warping effect.
Super cool.
Yeah, really, really simple way to do it, and very, very effective.
Yeah, the green suit would not be super effective in the jungle.
Yeah, that's why they did the red.
That's awesome.
But it's pretty cool, and like, I mean, this is 80s gore and everything, so you see lots of bloods and chopped off limbs, but it's very effective. Like, this movie really does hold up.
The gore is funny, man. There's a couple points in the movie where the like shooting guns goes on for so long. I think that's that satire that we're talking about.
Yeah.
But it's so funny. The raid on the guerrilla camp is like 5 minutes. At a certain point, I like checked my watch.
Well, what's crazy about that, and it's the same thing we talked about it when we did Total Recall, a couple months back. Like, these are supposed to be the elites, like the CIA, the military. When they can't get a job done, they get Arnold's team. And once again, I don't know if he's still part of the military or not, or if he's like a private security firm or what the hell he is, because apparently he can turn down jobs.
Black Ops, wet work.
Yeah, but he can turn them down. Like, he had to be tricked into taking this job. Right. But he
and he said, "I don't do jobs like this."
Exactly. But they don't have any tactics when they raid the guerrilla camp. It's literally just all 5 of them just running around and just holding their trigger down and just blowing things away.
Well, Arnold had a nice little trick at the beginning where he like put the explosives on the back of the car and then let it run into the middle of the camp.
Yeah. Stick around, throws the giant machete at people.
Knock, knock.
What are some highlights for you? On this one?
Since we're doing quotes, Jesse Ventura is saying, "I ain't got no time to bleed."
Yeah, I like that one. What's the
and
one he says?
I think that line gets quoted a lot, but the follow-up is even better. The guy looks at him and just goes, "Oh, okay."
Oh, okay. I thought that was hilarious.
So funny.
When they're in the helicopter, something like Hawkins makes some joke, and he's like, "I want a little pussy," and then like the woman was like, "Me too. Mine's as big as a house."
Played
like,
by.
Oh, you asking me?
Yeah, played by the writer Shane Black.
Shane Black, yeah. Well, and they gave him a part because they wanted a writer on set so they can punch stuff up, and that was the way around it.
Shane Black, also another legendary writer-director involved in this.
God, they're like, I don't know what he has, if it's a protein shake, but Jesse Ventura also says, this stuff will make you a sexual Tyrannosaurus, just like me.
Yeah.
What the fuck does that even mean?
He's so good in this. He's also wearing an MTV shirt, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, I mean, everybody does exactly what they need to do in this movie. Like, everybody delivers. Like, I don't think there's a bad performance in this. The one that's interesting, I don't remember the actor's name, but he plays Billy, the guy who's supposed to be, like, Native American, and he kind of has, like, a sixth sense. Apparently with him, he was known for having a huge temper and, like, getting in fights, like, every night. And so to get him in the movie, for insurance to cover him, they had to get a bodyguard, but not a bodyguard to protect like anybody. The bodyguards were specifically to like fight the actor just in case he went wild.
That's awesome. Sonny Landham is the name.
Yeah, him. That's fucking crazy that you fucking hire somebody to beat up your actor if he gets out of line.
80s Hollywood, man.
Insane.
80s Hollywood. You know what they should do? They should make that show The Offer. They should do it for Predator.
Ooh.
I mean, they should make it for every big movie, honestly.
There you go.
I liked the gun still firing after the dude's arm gets blown off.
Oh, that was pretty. Yeah, when Dylan loses one arm and he's carried two machine guns in either hand, and one arm gets blasted off.
That was awesome.
And it's still going. Then he swings around with the other arm, tries to fire.
Yeah.
I
liked Bill Duke, the bald dude, was always shaving, and then like it pays off at the end where he like breaks it.
Yeah. What was interesting about this, and this goes into the fragile, toxic masculinity thing, is, you know, maybe that some of them could have survived if they actually worked together as a team, but like every time the Predator came, other than that one time where they all fire blindly into the jungle at the same time and just unload all their ammunition, they all just try to go after it by themselves at one point. Like
but even what they do in the jungle, or shooting everything into the jungle, is what you're talking about. Like, it's blind, toxic masculinity. They're not working together. They're not communicating. They're just randomly shooting into the jungle. That moment I wrote down. It's like a full minute of them emptying their clips into the jungle, not knowing what they're shooting at, was a good metaphor for American foreign policy.
Whew. Whew. Ha. Whew. Yeah, no, you're not wrong about that.
Which, again, this movie is satire. Like,
it really is.
They're in the jungle in South America somewhere, I think. But the whole time I felt like, oh, they're making fun of Vietnam.
No, absolutely they are. They're in the shit. They're in the jungles. There's a war. They're fighting an enemy that hides and uses guerrilla tactics. Like,
and they're being overpowered by a small force.
Yeah, it's very, very obvious.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny. I'm just looking at my notes. I have my process is if there's something I really want to talk about, I have it bold, and I see the same quote that you called out that I ain't got time to bleed in my notes. I see. Oh, okay, and I put that's the only appropriate response to that.
Yeah, so good.
Like what the fuck else are you supposed to say to that?
Arnold also says, "If it bleeds, we can kill it," which is just like legitimately a sick line.
That's a badass line. One of the other things I found interesting. So the first night. They realize they're going to have to like spend a night there. And so they like, well, let's move up higher in the mountains where it's going to be easier to defend. And they set up a bunch of traps. And Mac, played by Bill Duke, is probably the most cowardly. And I don't want to say any of them are cowardly, but he's the one that like is always the first to overreact and start blind firing and whatnot. But like a wild boar sets off the trap, and he like fucking goes crazy and just stabs this wild boar like 1,000 times with his knife. And everyone's like, holy shit, look, oh, it's just a boar. And once again, it's just another thing. It's like when it comes down to it, these men, when they're not in control of the situation, when they don't feel in control, they break down immediately and are very fragile, very scared.
Yep.
And just another example of like these guys, just because they're ripped and they have training doesn't mean that they are equipped to handle every situation like they think they are.
Yeah, men would rather kill a wild boar in the South American jungle with their bare hands than go to therapy.
Yep.
I like the.
Go ahead.
I liked Arnold Schwarzenegger's big scream towards the end.
The war cry.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, what's crazy, I don't feel too bad for him because he's, one of the most successful action stars of all time and became governor, even though he really wasn't qualified. He almost like died doing this movie because they put him out in the jungle, and like the clay that they put him in actually like lowered his body temperature significantly. So they'd have to like put heat lamps on him just to keep him barely like warm enough to survive and not go into hypothermia.
Wow.
And then like they actually like hoofed it through the jungle, and like their camps like every night got like invaded by like venomous snakes and poisonous bugs. Like they were just like in the shit, which really sucks.
While I was watching, I was looking up the different types of apex predators in the South American jungle.
And what did you find? Keep in mind, this is actually Puerto Vallarta. Mexico.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Well, I looked up South America, so that's what I have information for.
Hit me.
Yeah. No, I didn't write it down. I had to look it up again. But it's what I pulled up 30 seconds ago before you said that. It's like a jaguar, piranhas, which I don't think would be an issue for them. I didn't see any spiders. The type of condor. Here, let's look up Puerto Vallarta.
So I don't think they filmed this in Puerto Vallarta. I don't know.
No, but it's supposed to be in South America, right?
Yeah.
I don't think I'm crazy for thinking that.
It's definitely supposed to be in South America.
Thank you.
Because like the Soviets. So that was the big reveal, was that when they get to the camp, there's no dignitary that they're supposed to get, but they do find a few Russians, and the whole thing was Russia was getting to South America, and they were trying to get a bigger foothold in South America and control South America. So yeah, you're definitely right that they were in South America. Not
all my results are related to the film, so let's move on.
Yeah. Yep. It's just an amazing movie. Like I don't really know what to say, what to talk about that we haven't talked about. Like the fight at the end of the movie when Arnold sets up all the traps and hides in the mud, and then he like shoots him with the explosive arrows and whatnot. It's just phenomenal and cool, and it makes my male brain go, ooh.
Yeah, I think the Predator is kind of a dick, man. He sets off the bomb at the end. He self-destructs.
You know what's actually
kind of a dick
something
move
that I noticed that I never noticed in any of my previous viewings of this movie. So when Billy, kind of gets the sixth sense, there's a few times where he's just kind of like, it's watching us, and it's in that tree over there. But the first time it's very subtle, but I never noticed it this time. You actually hear him, the Predator, kind of mimicking one of the laughs, and it's Billy's laugh that he's mimicking. So that's what kind of the first time he notices.
Because Shane Black finally got him to laugh at a pussy joke.
Yeah. One of the things you brought up, the fact that the Predator is a dick, and there's plenty of examples of it in the next movie that we're going to be talking about. But it actually always bothered me in all the Predator movies, whether it's this one, the Alien versus Predator movies, the sequels to this. They make a big deal that the Predator only wants to fight something that it deems is potentially a threat and whatnot. And I'm on board with that. But I think it's like one of those bullshit like things that like supervillains have, where they're like, oh, I've got a code of conduct. I would never do this. I'm only going to attack people that fit this criteria. But when push comes to shove, he's got the superior technology, the invisibility cloak.
It's like hunting a deer with an AR-15. Like there's no contest.
And with laser sights and homing missiles and superior strength, like realistically,
so that
it makes.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just say realistically, it makes zero sense that the Predator really should ever lose, other than its vanity gets in the way,
right?
And it could be outsmarted. But like, it's not fair. And like in every movie with there's a point where the Predator shows up invisible and like stabs through somebody, or like when Jesse Ventura in this movie got. Jesse Ventura was just standing. He had his back turned to the Predator,
right?
And the Predator shot him twice with the plasma bolt. Like, where's the sport in that? That's not sporting.
Yeah, that it's kind of an anti-hunting movie if you really think about it.
Yeah.
I feel like we'll talk about it in the next movie, but I feel like the next movie does a better job of presenting the Predator as a hunter that likes a fair fight, and is like
I
truly
agree.
interested in seeing if it's the best.
Yeah. You got anything else before we want to move on? I've got a few trivia things that are worth noting.
My last three notes are at the very beginning of the movie. I said, "Oh, his cute little ship." I was laughing. There's no way that Arnold survives in the end.
No.
I'm glad that he does. It's fun, but there's no way that he survives that explosion.
You know what didn't survive?
Hmm.
The stuntman's knee when he jumped off the cliff into the water.
Oh, and like
Arnold's stuntman blew out his knee.
in that like climax shot where you see the light from behind him.
No. It's before he falls in the mud. Like the only
okay.
reason Arnold falls in the mud is he's running away and then he falls down the hill
yeah.
and then he falls off the
Right,
cliff
right,
and he
right.
lands in the water.
Right.
That stunt blew out the stuntman's knee.
That sucks. The end credits for this movie are the best end credits ever.
Oh yeah, why's that?
Do you not know what I'm talking about? Did you watch the movie?
I did not watch the end credits. I did, but I didn't watch the end credits.
The end credits of the movie is like an 80s sitcom where like it says the person's name.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah. Like
I
someone,
thought you literally meant like the credits, like something happened, and no, when they named when you see all the characters.
yeah, they like look at the camera and do like a big smile, except for Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, you almost hear like Full House, like everywhere you look.
So good, man. So fucking clever and funny, and like really hammers home the point that this is a satire.
Yeah, they all have like shit-eating grins and stuff, like Hawkins.
Amazing.
That's a big ass grin.
Amazing.
It's worth noting we're a podcast. If we didn't say this, somebody would probably be like, "How did you not mention this?" Jean-Claude Van Damme was originally supposed to play the Predator. He was even on set for a couple of days, but he wasn't tall enough to be menacing. He also was apparently like a diva on set, so they fired him, and then they got like a 7'2" guy to play the Predator.
Who also plays the helicopter pilot at the end, I think.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I've got. There's nothing we can say that hasn't been said.
I met one of the producers of this movie.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, John Davis.
nice.
His son.
How'd that go?
It was cool. He's very nice. His son runs the Crypt TV, Eli Roth thing, and I've done.
Oh, okay.
I've done some work with them, and he introduced me to his dad one time, and that was pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's also worth noting John McTiernan, the director, got arrested for illegally wiretapping the producer of Rollerball's phones.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Cool. What have you been up to, bud?
Oh man, hold on. I'm gonna open it up. I knew you were getting around to it, and I was trying to be quick, but I wasn't quick enough. I started watching The Offer on Paramount Plus.
Oh yeah, that's the one about the Godfather.
Yeah, I thought it was. I feel like the marketing really did not do that show justice. You haven't watched it, right?
No.
So the marketing made it look like it was going to be like a bad, like campy sitcom, like not in a fun way. And it, like the cast is, I didn't know that Matthew Good was in it. Once I heard that after it had been out for a little bit, I was like, oh, maybe this is going to be more interesting. But like Dan Fogler's in it playing Francis Ford Coppola. And I was like, there's no way that that's like a serious
Who does Miles
thing,
Teller
right?
play? I thought Miles Teller was
Miles
Coppola.
Teller is Albert Ruddy, like the main producer.
Oh, okay.
And, Miles Teller, I don't know, man. Maybe this is, in my head, but Miles Teller, I kind of don't know what he's going to do. I think he's done enough where he has earned the benefit of the doubt that he's going to be interesting in something. And maybe I wasn't giving him the benefit of the doubt before that. So that's a little
It's
bit
hard
on
not
me.
to hold. It's hard not to hold Fantastic Four against him.
Yeah, he doesn't have like a perfect track record. You know what I mean?
No.
But like the guy's done plenty of great stuff.
Absolutely.
So I was not sold on it from the trailer and from the posters, and I kept on hearing great things about it up through the finale, and I was like, you know what, I gotta give it a shot, and yeah, it's just like it's really cool, man. It's like Ocean's 11, like it's like cool, like swinging 70s sort of vibe, and it's done very sincerely. Like it feels like a prestige drama that is about getting this movie made, and there's a mob element involved in it as well, which is pretty cool. And yeah, I'm having a really good time with it. I'm not all the way through it just yet, but digging it.
Good.
Yeah.
Glad you're liking it, man.
Let's see. Dumbo was the last thing we watched. Well, we've been watching For All Mankind as well.
Yep.
Which we can't
Us
talk
too.
about because you're only halfway through season 3, right?
We've got 2 more episodes of season 3.
Oh man, how are you feeling about it?
Whew.
Yeah, yeah,
Edge of my seat.
yeah. I can't wait to talk to you about it once you finish. We watched One Bedroom, which is pretty cool.
I don't know what that is.
It's a horror movie about this girl that moves into a 1-bedroom apartment in Los Angeles, and things are not what they seem. So that's pretty cool. We finally watched Old. I've been putting that off for a while, and finally got around to it, and it was a movie that I watched.
I haven't watched it because I knew that's exactly what it was going to be.
I was really curious what the Shyamalan twist was going to be, and it was a thing.
Yeah,
I'm happy to never watch it again. And then we saw E.T. The Extraterrestrial in IMAX the other day, and that was
for the
pretty
40th
sweet.
anniversary.
Yeah, it was really cool, man.
Nice.
Looks fantastic, and that movie still plays like gangbusters. It is so good. Newsflash: Steven Spielberg is a fantastic director.
No, he isn't.
Yeah,
He hasn't made some of the greatest movies ever, time after time after time after time.
it's so funny though. You watch something like E.T. or Indiana Jones, and you're just like, oh yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
He every frame that he puts on screen is great.
One of the things that I like about Spielberg, and Christopher Nolan does this a little bit too, and I think that's why people aren't used. They think that their movies are hard to listen to. Is when you watch a Spielberg movie and you watch a Nolan film, and you watch the background actors talking, they're actually having conversations that are scripted, and it makes the world sound more real.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some people, it overwhelms them for whatever reason, but I think that's something that makes their movies better. Like, it just makes it seem like they're in the real world and not the characters aren't existing in a vacuum.
Yeah, I mean, even just the base of that is an attention to detail that not every filmmaker has.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you see the Oppenheimer trailer?
You know what? I didn't.
Yeah, you don't need to.
I heard it's just like clouds swirling, and then you see Cillian Murphy. Just
Yeah, like I'm there for that movie opening day, but
regardless, yeah.
I'm getting tired of watching trailers.
I don't know. I think trailers get me pretty excited about things.
I'm not saying that every trailer does not work for me, but more and more often I'm stoked to go see a movie blind or with like just a teaser.
I never watched the last trailer. I'll watch the first 2,
Smart.
but I won't ever watch trailers number 3.
The advertisements for Nope started going up in like the beginning of the year, and that's like pretty early for most movies. Most movies I think have like a 3-month marketing lead out, 3 or 4 months. So for Nope to have like a 7-month one was very long, and like Marvel might be
6
the
months is
exception to that.
considered. 6 months is actually considered short nowadays. Like, that's why people have been losing their minds over Marvel not having trailers out for movies 6 months before.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. It's like Marvel is kind of a weird one because you know what's coming so far in advance.
Because they used to do them. The first, like the teaser trailer used to be like a full year before the movie, but there wouldn't really be much to it. It would just be like a lot of title cards, then you might get a couple money shots, and then you would get like the first trailer was like 6 to 9 months out, and then you'd get another trailer. Yeah, I worked at a movie theater for 3 years, bro.
All right.
But anyway, we're not here to talk about trailers. Any other? What have you been up to, buds?
Well, I had a bunch of trailers to talk about, but we don't talk about trailers now.
Go ahead.
No,
I mean, if you got a few,
no, I was joking.
let's just
giving you a hard
It's
time.
been like 8 minutes of what have we been up to, bud?
Well, what I've been up to is very interesting.
It is. I like talking to you about shit,
Obviously, you don't.
but I end up editing a lot of it out to shorten it to about 5 minutes.
It's rude.
I gotta.
I'm waiting for you to go.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if you had anything else, any other movies or TV shows you wanted to drop.
No, it's gonna get cut out. So
No, the trailer part was going to get cut out a little bit. But
No,
if you got other movies.
that's everything I got.
All right. I'll just drop a few. Rewatched 21 Jump Street on an airplane.
Hell
It
yeah.
was fine. I enjoyed it. Fantasia and Atlantis. We just felt like watching some Disney stuff the other day, so we watched those two. Katrina really wanted to watch Speed Racer. I had watched Speed Racer like a month ago on an airplane, so I've watched Speed Racer twice in the last
The way it was meant to
2
be
months.
seen.
But I actually really like Speed Racer.
Yeah, it's great.
it's not a good movie, but objectively it's very, very entertaining. Still watching Seinfeld. Came across that
Same.
blackface episode you talked about. It's not really blackface. He just got tan. It's not like he was trying to be another race. Like, that's not what blackface is. I was like waiting for it, and I was like, "That's not." When I saw it, I was like, "That's not blackface."
Sure, but it is a white guy in like very brown makeup, and also,
But he was supposed to be too
but
tan.
he got the tan. But in the tanning booth, he's wearing the little eye things, and those aren't on. Like he doesn't have a tan line around his eyeballs.
Yeah, that's just bad makeup.
Yeah.
Idiots. Knock him for that part.
Okay, fair enough.
Bad continuity. We already brought up For All Mankind, where I started that over with Katrina, so I stopped watching season 3 at like episode 5, and then rewatched the whole series, and we're almost done. I've seen Bullet Train twice.
Oh, wow.
I saw it at an early screening, and then I saw it again. I really fucking enjoyed that movie. Brad Pitt was delightful,
I'm stoked to see
as
it.
well as the rest of the cast, and still hanging on The Office.
How does it compare to John Wick?
Very, very similar in terms of like the action, but it was more comical. Like it was more like situational kind of action, like using the environment. You know, the train definitely played a lot into it. Like, you know, there's parts where they're using the food carts that the staff is using, and you know, using luggage as weapons and stuff like that. So there's
Cool.
it's very much like it's almost like if you took John Wick and Jackie Chan and mashed them together. There's a lot of like environmental kind of stuff, but I really enjoyed it from beginning to end. And there's a lot of really great cameos in it.
Cool.
So really, really fun. And started Umbrella Academy season 2. Like I watched season 1 when it came out, and then Katrina wanted to watch it, and then she watched like 2 episodes of season 1 right when season 2 came out, and then she never got into it. And I'm like, I'm tired of waiting because season 3 just dropped, so I decided to just watch it on my own again.
Yeah, we started Umbrella Academy. We're only 2 episodes in. Scarlett has seen all of it, I think, but I just started. I really enjoyed it. We were watching too many shows.
Yeah, there's so much content. All right, Prey. Sum it up for me, bud.
A predator lands in Comanche territory in 1719 in the Great Plains, and starts working his way up the food chain until he meets up with the hero of our movie, whose name I'm going to get wrong if I don't double check it.
Naru,
right? I was going to say Nara, and I was like, that's not right. Naru is a teenage Comanche woman who desperately wants to hunt with the men in the tribe, and she's trying to prove her worth out on the hunting trail, and she ends up seeing a bunch of her tribe killed by the predator, and tracks him down herself, and hilarity ensues.
Yep.
Did you watch the Comanche dub or not?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably will go back and watch it with that, because I'm just gonna say at the top, I really fucking enjoyed this movie.
I did too.
I had a great time with it.
I did too. I think that obviously it doesn't exist without the original Predator, but I think it's better.
As do I.
I think they're doing different things, so I don't even really want to compare them. But if I'm asked to compare them, this one is just a better crafted film.
I agree. The only thing that I did not like about it, and I don't even say I did not like it. My only real like negative criticism of the movie is you can tell, because this wasn't a theatrical release, that they didn't put 100% care in some things. Like some of the animals that were CGI did not look great. Like there's like some of the deer didn't look very good, and the rabbit didn't look very good. But like this should have been a theatrical release. They should have put a few million extra into the special effects and the CGI for the animals and the background stuff. But this should have been a theatrical release.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see this on the big screen.
Well, if the producers have their druthers, I think that there will be more of these, and hopefully they'll start getting theatrical.
I hope so. But God, I loved this movie from beginning to end. It is a beautiful shot movie. Like it is shot on location. It's not green screens. They're out in the woods. Obviously we're big fans of representation and actually having indigenous people as actors. Like most of these actors were not Comanche, but they were still indigenous, which I think is great. You don't see that, and that's starting to come up a lot. Like you got Reservation Dogs on FX and Hulu, and then you've got this, and then you also Letterkenny. So it seems interesting. Like you've never really saw a lot of native actors out there, and all of a sudden we're getting, in the last few years, we're getting a lot of exposure to native actors, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, you heard me mention it before, but in case you don't know, there's a version of this movie where all of the actors came back and redid their lines in Comanche with, I don't want to say supervision, but with assistance from the head of the Comanche language organization or whatever, preserving the Comanche's language. And it's all like super accurate. They had Native Americans involved in it. And I watched half of the movie with that, and the rest of it in the English, which is what, you know, the actors are actually speaking on set. And I actually really preferred the Comanche version. I switched over to see what it was like in English, and also because the subtitles were like I don't mind reading the dialogue subtitles in English, but there was subtitles for like every single sound in the movie. So it was like predator clicking.
It had the descriptive.
Yeah, grass rustles in the distance, and I was like, all right, this is distracting. I can't deal with this. But when you hear it in English, it's like, oh, they sound like teenagers that they hired to do this from like Southern California or whatever. That's not a knock on the actors. It's just like, it's better hearing the native language.
Well, and what I did like, now that you're talking about language, there was a point where, and I like when movies do this. Like there was a point, what movie was it? There was a movie that I watched not too long ago, and they were going to have, like, the actors were speaking German, and when they were speaking German, you would hear it in just a regular English accent, but then when they were speaking English, you would hear it with like a German accent, so you could see the difference. It was kind of like that in this movie, where periodically they would speak in the native indigenous language, but about halfway through the movie, we encounter some French trappers, and when they're talking to her, like, we don't hear English in a French accent. Like, we hear French because she doesn't understand what they're saying.
Right.
And I actually really like that aspect until they find, you know, the translator guy who can speak Comanche, and then he's speaking English and essentially an English, like a regular American accent.
Yeah,
so
it was weird.
It kind of works. Like, anytime they're speaking and it sounds like an American accent, like they're actually supposed to be speaking Comanche.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, they have to do
works.
it for wide release, but it is cool in the with the Comanche dub. And that, you know, it's a first time anything like that's been done. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's incredible.
As much as I'd like to see this movie have a theatrical release, the Comanche dub would not have happened in theaters. It only would have happened when it was released on Hulu later, and it probably wouldn't have made as big of a splash.
No, probably not. What I thought was interesting about this movie, when we talk about like the main character Naru, she wants to prove herself, like you mentioned, but she's also, I thought this was really interesting, and I've read some reviews on this movie, and I haven't actually seen somebody say this, so I'm sure somebody has, but I haven't read it. But one of the things I thought was interesting was she was obviously very capable, but she had never killed anything before. So she hesitates, even when she's, you know, hunting things, when she's going after the rabbits. She throws her tomahawks, but she always kind of hesitates because she's like, if I miss, I'm gonna have to go get this damn tomahawk. And eventually, she like makes her own little like ropes to put on the tomahawk, so she doesn't have to like go chase after her missed things. But she hesitates, and then like once she gets her like first blood, when she like has to fight some of the French people, then she like never hesitates again. And that was like one of the things like her brother's trying to tell her throughout the movie. It's like, you could be as good as me, but you always hesitate, and like you actually weakened some of these creatures, or you distracted them, so we were able to do it. But that's not what the other warriors are going to see. The other warriors are only going to see that you hesitated. Like, you can't hesitate anymore.
Yeah.
And you'll be unstoppable. So I actually thought that was a really interesting arc for her. And then also the fact that she's just so much smarter than everyone, like making those weapons. She is very observant. She figures out how the predator hunts. She figures out how the weapons work. Like, she notices the laser sight, and she notices that it has like a homing thing. She uses it against him. She remembers her terrain. She remembers where the bog is. Like, she's just so much smarter than everybody else.
Yeah, smarter than Arnold too.
Yeah. Oh, and that's the thing. Like, you're seeing all these comments online, like, there's no fucking way. There's no fucking way. Like, she is way smarter than every character in this movie.
Yeah. And
she uses it. The only like knock that I have against the movie from a storytelling standpoint is, I understand that the predator is supposed to be like, I'm only going to fight people that, you know, pose a threat, but she's literally around for like every single encounter that he has. And like, you would think like, you know what, I'm just going to kill her just to be sure, because
maybe
she
he doesn't
keeps coming up.
Maybe he doesn't recognize that she's the same person. Maybe he's kind of racist, and you know, they all look the same to him.
Oh, maybe.
No, if he only sees thermal vision though.
That's true.
and his like machinery zero software or whatever zeroes in on weapons, he might not be able to differentiate her from any other humanoid shaped thing.
It is interesting that, like, in this, the infrared vision is so much more clear.
Yeah.
Like, he can actually see the weapons and it's crisp. There's not a point, except for when she's actually like tied up by the French people, that she's not actively carrying weapons. So it is interesting that he doesn't necessarily attack her, because in other Predator movies, just the fact that you're carrying a weapon is enough. Like in the original one, Anna goes to pick up a weapon, and Arnold does this really sweet roundhouse kick, and it like sends the gun flying. It hits a tree, and he's like, "Don't pick up the weapons!" Like,
get to the chopper.
When you get to the chopper. I don't know how we didn't.
He says it so much.
Get to
in
the
that
chopper.
movie.
I know.
Yeah, I think there might be a little bit of suspense of disbelief there. My like one, I don't even know if this is a bug with the movie, but it's something that wasn't clear to me was the thing with Predator's like homing vision, the triangle of dots, and then that's how she ends up killing him. Why is he still firing stuff from his helmet if he knows he's not wearing his helmet? He's got to know that he's firing blind.
So that surprised me, because what's weird about that, there's
spoilers in this conversation, by the way.
So the only thing I can think of is the first time he gets the helmet knocked off, he still like aims like in Iron Man does at Civil War.
Right.
Like he aims it by eye. Maybe because the helmet got turned off or wasn't activated yet, and she's the one who turned on the helmet. He didn't realize it was turned on, because there is a point in this movie where he manually aims it down his arm.
Right.
So maybe he just assumed she wouldn't be able to figure out how to turn on the tracking software.
I mean, listen, there's probably an answer for it. Maybe Dan Trachtenberg can come on the podcast and tell us all about it.
Dan.
It was not clear to me.
Anytime.
It was not clear to me on first viewing.
No.
Didn't ruin the movie for me, but it did make my eyebrow go up like this.
Huh. There were a lot of like, oh, this was really convenient that this happened. Like, oh, you came up with the idea to make ropes and tie them to your tomahawks and make rope-a-hawks just before you fall into a bog.
I also
to pull yourself way out.
That seems like a pretty dangerous thing, that you just pull a string and the tomahawk comes right back to your hand. I'm in for the movie. It's fine.
Yeah.
But also, come on.
I mean, when you think of it, obviously the like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat has a similar concept with the kunais,
right?
And God of War, like that is a common thing, and there are
in video games.
Well, there are Asian martial art weapons that are on chains, and there are people who do that stuff. Like it could be a ball and chain, it could be the amount of expertise she had on it immediately was a little unbelievable. And the fact that she's like, oh, I'm going to make these, and then 5 minutes later she's in quicksand and essentially and needs it to pull herself out. So there is a little bit of plot convenience, and also she needed that to fight the Predator, because at the end of the movie she like stabs in the leg, wraps it around, does some Black Widow moves around his neck, ties the rope around his neck, and then she's able to yank him into the mud where she needs him to be. Very convenient she came up with those.
But we're picking nits here. This is like a very fun
that's
movie
absolutely nitpicking
about killing an alien.
She was fucking rad.
Do you want to switch off with some of our high points?
Yeah.
I have notes here, and it's just stuff that I loved about the movie.
Go.
This movie is thinking about its theme at all times, and where I really started like honing in on this was I think it was like the second time we see the Predator, and the shot or the scene is introduced with this little bug that's crawling around, and it crawls up the Predator's leg, and then there's a mouse or a groundhog or whatever that eats the bug, and then you see a snake come out of nowhere and eat the mouse, and then the Predator puts its Wolverine claws through the snake and picks it up and like rips its
skin clean off.
Yeah, or rips its spine out. And I just love that what's the word? Not exploration. I love that juxtaposition of the different levels of the predator-prey dichotomy up the food chain. I thought that was pretty cool. And the movie is like constantly doing that. If Naru isn't dealing with Predator, she's dealing with a mountain lion. She's not dealing with a mountain lion. She's dealing with these French trappers or
a giant ass bear.
She's dealing with an animal in the woods, or she's dealing with these trappers, and the trappers are also skinning these bison alive.
Poor bison.
Yeah, I know. There's just these hundreds of bison in that one shot. That was another big moment. The field of bison that were all skinned, and I think some of them were still alive too, which was fucked up.
No, it seemed like it. Well, that was a great scene because it's like you make that comparison. Like, did the predator do that? Even if the predator wanted to kill one of the bisons because it's a big old, like, I can understand the predator maybe wanting to fight one bison, but it's not the predators are never about excess. Like, so then you see that humans are like, you realize, oh no, these are humans that did that. And I thought that was a really cool kind of like realization. It takes you a split second to go, oh no, humans fucking did this. We're about to see some French or Spanish or English colonists who fucking shit up.
Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. And I also like that this isn't like said in the movie, but my impression was that the predator is on Earth, going through a similar trial that Naru is. Naru is, her arc is roughly going on a hunting trial and proving her worth to her tribe. And I think that's kind of what the predator is doing too. The predator comes down to Earth and is like, I can do this. I can kill all of the apex predators that I encounter.
I think you're right, because when you get into the end credits, like the credits have like cave paintings or hide paintings of stuff, and like one of the last ones is you see like 3 crafts coming, and that would likely be like almost every Predator movie's ended with another Predator ship, coming. That those would probably like its big brothers, or whatnot, or the tribe checking in to be like, oh yeah, he totally killed a bunch of creatures.
Yeah,
good job, Predator dude.
And hopefully that means there's going to be a sequel.
Oh God, I hope so. One of the things that I thought was the coolest, and it's a very low key moment, but you see him kill like a wolf or dingo, not a dingo because those are Australian, but like it didn't seem like it was big enough to be a wolf, but he kills some sort of canine predator, and you see him in the cave, and he like uses like liquid nitrogen or some other like frozen gas,
nanites,
and just immediately. Yeah, it gets it freeze dries and burns the flesh and fur off of it, so he just has a fucking sick skull that he can like
I wrote that
hang
down
out
too.
with.
That was super cool.
I loved when I loved how the warriors like were talking so much shit in this movie, and like one gets fucking killed by like the lion, like out of nowhere. It's like because he wasn't paying attention, and they're all talking shit when they go and get her. And she beats the shit out of one of them, and then like they have to resort to trickery to like get her. Where they're like, "All right, that's enough," and then like the guy grabs her, so the other guy could just fucking sucker punch her.
Yeah.
And that's what it took to like get her. And then the predator comes, and they're like, "Oh, you're just a scaredy cat. It's just a possum." She's like, "What do you think scared the possum? Like something big scared all these possums towards us." And then like the predator just fucks up like her entire tribe, and like one guy goes to hide in the grass, and she's like, no, this is where he wants us. And then he gets his head blown up. And then the brother does a pretty good job. Tabe comes back, and that I thought was pretty fucked up, because he comes and he actually puts up a really good fight against the predator, knocks off the mask and throws the spear through him, and like does all this cool shit, and then goes invisible. And this is like the thing that I mentioned in the previous movie, is whenever the predator actually truly feels threatened, and this is across all the movies, whenever it really does feel threatened, it will run away, turn invisible, and then sneak up and kill somebody in a way that's not honorable.
Yeah, true punk ass.
Yeah, like Tabe was like fucking it up, like slashed all of his limbs, stabbed him all the way through the chest, knocked his helmet off, so he's like he's not blind, but he can't see as well. And then he goes invisible and comes up and just like Wolverine claws him through the chest and lifts him up. Like, that's pretty messed up.
Yeah. You're skipping over one of my favorite parts, which was the whole sequence with all the trappers being fucking massacred. Very satisfying.
God, that was rad.
And like fantastic, like straight up horror movie kills.
Oh, absolutely.
Like Saw shit. There's the guy that got trapped in the net, and the net like retracts and just diced him into like hundreds of pieces, cubes.
Bite-sized cubes.
Yeah, super cool.
French tartare.
I didn't love that it ended with like the little bombs, the levitating bombs. I think that was not as effective as it should have been.
Yeah, I thought that was a little eh.
I wanted to see what they did.
I liked the part when she like, after they all kind of get like fucked up, and once they get like, she's just watching them all get killed, and the brother's like, "Oh, we're gonna be bait." She's like, "Nah, don't even worry. He doesn't want bait. Like, that's not how he operates." And she starts talking about like that. She sees the bear trap on the ground. And she starts talking about how she once saw a beaver like chew its leg off to get out of a bear trap. And she's like, I'm smarter than the brother's like, no, don't do it. And she's like, I'm smarter than a beaver, and uses it to cut the ropes. And like that's something that even her brother, even though he acknowledges that she is smart and she hesitates, like she outsmarts him a couple of times. There's that point. Then at the beginning of the movie, she's about to shoot down like a hawk that's carrying a fish. And he shoots it down, and he's like, you hesitate. And she's like, I was waiting for it to circle back. Now you got to cross the river, idiot. And then they mentioned the bow's getting wet like multiple times. And that was a story that her brother had where he had to like figure out a better way to kill an animal because his bow got wet. And that actually ended up happening to her when she was fighting the bear. She got her bow wet and she had to run away because she wasn't going to be able to use it because the bowstring slipped. So I thought I liked all these little like neat little things that they set up that were pretty subtle that come back.
Yeah, the best movies have a lot of tiny setups and payoffs.
I also like the part where like after the French people got all fucked up and she gets back to the camp and most of them are like packing up and trying to run away, and then they decide to fuck with her. And this is the first time she actually kills somebody. And once she does it once, then she's just brutal, like John Wicking with a knife and just fucking dominating them. But then there's the one guy who's like had his leg lost and he's like, I'm gonna fucking die. Can you just like make me not have to suffer? Like, do you have medicine? I'll teach you how to use this gun. And then the predator comes and she notices like the medicine she gave him for his like fever like brought down the temperature enough that he couldn't be seen. Mm-hmm. And then the French guy is laying there, and then the predator like steps on him, and then he makes a noise, and the predator's like, yeah, just gets him.
Not a good way to go.
Good.
I read that.
So good.
I think that guy's Raphael, right? The guy's gun she got. He is a pirate, and that's one of the characters they want to do another movie about.
Ooh, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I like to see Predator come fuck up some pirates.
That's trickier. Like, do they just keep kicking the Predator off the boat, and then the Predator has to catch back up?
Maybe the Predator has a cool submarine.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I like Tabe saying, "If it bleeds, we can kill it." That was a nice callback.
Nice callback.
Yeah, it was a nice little fist pump moment. I wasn't expecting it.
I'm glad the dog didn't die. There were so many times
the dog is so
they
good,
made it look they made it look like the dog was going to got a couple of times, and then nope, didn't happen.
The dog is a rescue dog that they I think adopted specifically for this movie, and he had a smaller role, and he did such a good job that they wrote more stuff for the dog to do.
That's good.
Very good.
He's a good dog.
Yeah, he's a good boy. My last thing is that the bear fight with the predator. The predator just like right hooks the bear and knocks it out, and that was the first time that I've been impressed by a predator actually fighting something.
Yeah, no,
it didn't use superior technology to get the job done. Like, it got into a fist fight with a bear and knocked it out cold with a punch.
What I like about that, this is also 200-ish years before, 250-ish years before the Arnold version, and even though they've got like space travel and everything, like this one's also not wearing armor. Like in other Predator movies, like machine guns are like ricocheting off of it, like unless it hits like a less armored part. Like in all the other Predator movies, they are wearing armor and wearing metal masks and everything. This one's not wearing armor. Like it gets hit by a lot of bow and arrow shots. It gets hit by human knives and swords and stuff like that. So like this one did come less.
They shot it in the head and the bullet ricocheted back and killed the guy.
Yeah, that I thought was cool. But like other than the helmet,
right,
he was pretty much unarmored.
Yeah.
Like this was the least kitted out Predator that we've seen. It still had the, it didn't have the plasma cannon. It still had the 3-dot focusing, but it was just like little metal darts.
Yeah.
That were like magnetically charged and shot out. So it's like, is this just a less advanced Predator because, it's 250 years and they still are developing technology? Or is it just he knew he was going after a much less advanced race and went bare bones?
I like to think about it like Doomsday in Superman. I think that they learn from each hunting expedition and apply that to their next thing.
But God, I really enjoyed this movie. Like,
yeah,
I actually really, I'm gonna watch it again. But this is not a true remake. It's not a true reboot. Although you could say this is a reboot of the franchise if they just start making sequels like make it like a different franchise where it's all pre-modern day kind of thing. Like I would still call the Arnold one modern day. Like if they go and do this, like, oh, there's an Egyptian one, or there's a pirate one, like you said, or any number of things, I would call it a reboot of the series of sorts. And I think this was a fucking great way to do it.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting to see if they call the next movies Prey 2 or Pirate Prey or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
I thought the naming convention was really clever too, especially since they've used Predator 3 times now.
Yeah, Predator, Predator 2,
no
Predators, The Predator.
Right, Predator, Predators, and The Predator are the ones that are like the same. 2 is fine. That's like a common thing. You call it 2. But Predator, Predators, The Predator. Come on.
God, The Predator was awful.
I appreciate that Predators is kind of a riff on Aliens.
Yeah. I like Predators is the one with Adrian Brody and Topher Grace.
Yeah.
And I like that one.
Yeah, I like that one too.
I've been meaning to go back to that one for years, and for some reason I keep forgetting to. So I'm probably gonna watch 2, because I was talking to my friend Dustin, who used to be on this show. He said he still likes 1 and 2 the best, and then this is his third favorite, or this was between 1 and 2. I don't remember what he said, but I kind of want to watch 2 with Danny Glover.
I was thinking that
I'm gonna watch Predators. I remember really liking one. That one was Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah.
I hated the one that came out like 2-3 years ago. Like, it was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I absolutely hated the newest one. But yeah, I think it goes without saying this was a good one, and people should check it out.
Yeah. Do it.
Do it. All right,
get to the chopper.
Bud.
Did you hear me say get to the chopper?
Plugs. I did.
Leave all of this in.
I will. Do your plugs.
I'm on Instagram at Dyslexic, DYS Alex IC. You can follow along with the movies I'm watching on Letterboxd at Pulisci, PULISCI. I'm also on TikTok at Pulisci and Twitter at Pulisci. And you can find all kinds of cool film, TV, elder emo, nonsensical sort of merch on my Etsy, Burn the Scene Boutique on Etsy. And you can use the code Remake Rewind for a discount.
Yeah. His stuff's pretty good. Just gonna throw that out there.
I just put up some new Nathan Fielder stuff, by the way.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And if you guys want to check out everything that's related to MDXpods, you can go to MDXpods.com, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all at MDXpods. If you want to support the show, you can also go to YouTube. That's not supporting the show. That's just watching on YouTube. But if you want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/MDXpods. If you're interested in a little side project I'm doing, I'm not advertising this on Instagram, but I'm actually the admin for a Harry Potter group on Facebook. That's a splinter group from a different podcast group. And the people on that page asked me to do a podcast because they knew I do Remake, Rewind, and Ruin My Childhood. So I'm doing a very limited release. I reread the Harry Potter books almost every year. I didn't do it during the pandemic, but I'm going back to it this year. So I'm going to be doing an episode on each of the books as I reread it. And if you're interested in that, it's called Muggle Mike and the Half Brick Mates. And it's everywhere where this podcast can be found as well.
Did you say
if you're interested, it's
half brick?
Yeah. So it's
I'm
part of my
fully
favorite
bricked
podcast.
up listening to it.
So one of my favorite podcasts that I listen to like religiously, it's called The Weekly Planet. It's an Australian comic book movie.
Yeah, I know. Mason.
Okay. Yeah, Nick Mason. Yeah. So he, in one of the episodes where they covered some of the Harry Potter movies, he mentions that the wizards don't really seem that competent, even like the Death Eaters. So he's like, honestly, if I just was able to pick up half a brick, I feel like I could take out most wizards.
Yeah,
so the Facebook group was called Harry Potter and the Half Brick Mates. And so I just twisted that a little bit for the pod.
Excellent. So, I love it.
Muggle Mike and the Half Brick Mates. And Mates is spelled M8S. But yeah, that's it.
Cool.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Bye.